News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Amy Morris. There's your closing bell for this Monday on Wall Street, where the dollar climbed the most since May on hopes for an extension of a China trade truce. More on that in just a minute. Stocks halted a 5-day advance, the S&P 500 topping 6,400 for just a bit, and then it fell back a bit. We bring you the closing numbers each day here at Bloomberg. The S&P 500 landing around 63.89. It gained just 1 point today. NASDAQ gained 70 points, and the Dow lost 64 points. The 10-year Treasury yield at 4.41%, the 2-year yield at 3.92%. A lot of movement on trade today. President Trump in Scotland to talk tariffs with EU and UK officials, but he also said that he's cutting short his 50-day grace period to impose financial penalties on Russia, saying that he's disappointed in Russia President Vladimir Putin.
I'm going to make a new deadline of about 10 or 12 days from today. There's no reason in waiting. It's 50 days. I want to be generous, but we just don't see any progress being made.
Trump says his plan now includes possible sanctions and secondary tariffs targeting Russia's trading partners. And President Trump seems to be recalibrating his stance on Gaza, expressing concerns about the humanitarian situation and urging Israel's leaders to take action as images of emaciated children have emerged.
Hamas has become very difficult to deal with in the last couple of days. I'm speaking to Bibi Netanyahu, and we are coming up with various plans. We're going to see. It's a very difficult situation.
President Trump made those comments during a meeting with UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer in Scotland. Now, the first of 2 days of trade talks between the U.S. and China has wrapped. They'll resume tomorrow, following an interim agreement for China to resume exports of rare earth minerals and the Trump administration allowing China renewed access to advanced chips. Bloomberg technology editor Michael Shepard.
It's a deal, but it's a deal that will be in lockstep with the degree to which China releases rare earths magnets to U.S. buyers. Yes. And so if there's any slowdown there will be a slowdown in licenses issued by the U.S. on those chips.
Bloomberg's Mike Shepard. Chinese Vice Premier He Lifeng and U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent led their delegations until nearly 8 p.m. in Stockholm, their third round in less than 3 months. Issues include levies tied to fentanyl trafficking and Chinese purchases of sanctioned Russian and Iranian oil. Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney says his government is still in deep trade talks with the Trump administration, despite recent comments from President Trump that suggested a deal with Canada is simply not a priority.
The negotiations are at a intense phase. It's a complex negotiation. You see with the various trade deals that have been agreed by other jurisdictions, European Union yesterday, Japan before, Indonesia, etc., the United Kingdom.
Mark Carney speaking with reporters in Prince Edward Island. Dominic LeBlanc is Canada's U.S. Trade Minister and is expected to spend much of this week in Washington ahead of Trump's August 1st deadline. Now, Canada still faces steep U.S. tariffs and duties on autos, steel, aluminum, and lumber, and Trump has threatened to impose new tariffs on copper imports as soon as Friday. A federal judge's order protects all Planned Parenthood locations from Medicaid cuts in the Trump administration's tax law. The ruling prohibits the Department of Health and Human Services from applying that law to exclude Planned Parenthood health centers from Medicaid. And we should mention that Planned Parenthood has received funding from Bloomberg Philanthropies, the charitable arm of Bloomberg LP, which is the parent company of Bloomberg News Now. Nearly half the U.S. is wilting under hot, sticky conditions for most of this week. Temperatures and humidity soaring from Chicago to New York City and New Orleans, boosting power demand, raising health risks. I can tell you that in Washington, D.C., the heat index right now is 106 degrees. A weather front dropping down from the north will bring relief midweek to most areas except the Deep South, which will linger with hot, sticky conditions for days. Scientists who initially predicted an overactive year for hurricanes are scaling back expectations, saying a peculiar 2024 raised questions about how to interpret the data. National Weather Service now says Hurricane Iona is a Category 1 storm after rapidly strengthening in the central Pacific Ocean. That's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Amy Morris. This is Bloomberg.